What we can expect from the local market today with Stan Shamu from IG in Melbourne. Stan, thanks so much for your time. Let's start with the currencies and the Australian dollar somewhat underperforming other risk assets at the moment. What can we expect today?
Yeah, absolutely. We saw the Australian dollar completely act as a safe haven currency over the past few sessions. It's underperformed the euro and the pound, and it definitely looks like now it's starting to find its footing again. And we suspect this is to do with the stability we're seeing in the commodities space, where iron ore, copper and crude oil just seem to be edging higher there. Of course, a lot to do with how Asia will trade today will be around the US dollar, with Ben Bernanke set to be on the wires at around 9:15 this morning. He's speaking at a conference in Atlanta, and it's all about financial stability today. So a lot of investors out there will be hoping he does give a couple of hints on what we can expect from quantitative easing, particularly after those disappointing jobs numbers that we saw on Friday. Of course, they seem like a distant memory now, but we cannot ignore the fact that they will be a large part to exactly what happens with Kiwi going forward. For the Aussie dollar this morning, of course, we've got NAB business confidence. This tends to not have too much of a bearing on the Aussie dollar when we've got such big moves in the rest of the risk space, particularly with Japan and the US and commodities moving quite abruptly in the past few sessions. So we'll probably see a bit more of an impact should the China data come in a little bit different from expectations. We've got CPI expected to be up 2.5%. Of course, that's cooling from around 3%. But a lot of analysts out there feel that CPI won't have too much of an impact. And what a lot of investors should look out for from China at the moment is credit growth and what's happening with the money supply, and of course expectations for their growth targets and outlook and whatnot. But of course the Aussie dollar tends to always react to China data, so we cannot rule that out. So that's definitely something to look out for today. Apart from that, the Aussie dollar has been trending quite nicely this morning. It's come off that low of around 1.1036 from yesterday. It's now trading near that 1.042 level. There's nothing much in it at the moment. It just seems to be sidelined early in Asia, but as soon as we start getting some of these economic releases coming through, then we might see a bit more movement in the Aussie dollar.
Stan, also want to ask you about the Japanese yen. Some incredible stats floating around at the moment. I know it's up almost 8% just over the past few days, and I'm looking on Twitter right now at someone who's adding up the numbers, up a staggering 30% since the September lows last year. Everyone's wondering how much further it has to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think no one really quite expected to move it this quickly. I think last I checked, it hit a high of 99.50. The only time it really paused yesterday was at around 98.50, when it's sort of consolidated around that level. But as soon as the US markets opened, it just continued to much higher. And it seems like that 100 level that everyone's been talking about as a year-end target could be the end of week target for the dollar yen. There's nothing much in it. It's about 50 points away. So with the BOJ monetary policy meeting minutes set to come out today, there could be a source of a little bit of volatility for the dollar yen. But of course, we can't forget that Japan's always a month behind with the monetary policy meeting minutes. So they might not have as big an impact, considering we had that massive stimulus injection towards the end of last week announced. So that's probably one of the key things to look out for in the Asian region today. What happens with these monetary policy meeting minutes? We doubt they'll have too much of an impact. Probably looking out for Ben Bernanke's comments at 9:15 might be something that's a bit more relevant to how the dollar yen trades today. So we'll probably be looking out for that and see how the dollar yen responds. Possibly we'll start seeing sellers come in at 100. A lot of traders would have that as their own target, and as well, considering we've heard in the past Japanese officials saying that 90 to 100 level is the level they'll be more comfortable with for the dollar yen to trade in. Then what happens then when we get to 100? Do we see a tapering off, or do we just see them pressing on and until they get that 2% inflation target? Or is there a rate at which they want to get to that 2% inflation target? Those are the questions that will start arising in the market.
Okay, so Bernanke key to that dollar yen trade today, and also sellers to come in at 100. Is that what we should take out?
possibly is.
Okay, Stan Shamu, thank you so much. To appreciate your time. Stan
Yes,
joining us live from IG in Melbourne there. Let's move on and take a look at some